get himself a prison girlfriend or maybe a prison boyfriend, but it doesn't sound like there's a lot of privacy. But, you know, he sounds like he swings both ways, so who knows?
Diddy's time behind bars is hitting a whole new level of wild. And when we say wild, we're not talking about him just sitting in a cell, reading books, and doing push-ups. Witnesses are spilling the tea on some seriously disturbing details about freak-offs happening in jail, and you're gonna wanna hear this because you just can't make this stuff up. So Diddy's locked up, but don't think he's left his freak-off vibes completely behind.
I think that we made the points that we've been wanting to make. I think he came out. Mr. Combs is a fighter. He's going to fight this to the end. He's innocent.
Even though we had his lawyer tell us about the harsh and unlivable conditions at MDC a few weeks ago, there's been a slight change of pace since then. Word is, he's now staying in a dorm-style unit at the Metropolitan Detention Center. And let's just say, it's not your typical prison setup. This place has air hockey and ping pong, kind of like a bootleg rec center for inmates. But here's where things get spicy. In the 4 North unit, there's this grate in one of the rooms, and if you lay down, you can peek through these tiny holes to see female inmates on the floor below. And if you know about Diddy's infamous parties, you might wonder if he's channeling some of that energy behind bars. Former inmates like Gene Borello, who's been there, claim Diddy could totally pull something off if he wanted to.
You got gym equipment in there. People work out all day.
Oh yeah, you got so you got the steps. Yeah, we play basketball too. People play basketball almost every day. That's an everyday thing. Play basketball, Dominicans.
And it gets wilder. Another inmate, who goes by G-Lock, spilled the tea in an interview with Tiffany Fong, saying the female prisoners aren't shy at all. They'll sometimes flash their goods, but these women aren't exactly the supermodels Diddy used to party with. Let's just say it's a far cry from his usual crowd. Now, while all this is going on, Diddy's still dealing with serious charges, which he denies completely. His legal team even offered a massive $50 million for bail, but the judge wasn't feeling it. He's waiting on another bail request. But for now, this is his reality. Diddy's stuck in a tiny dorm, sharing steel beds that make a twin mattress look like luxury. Privacy is something that he can only dream of. Thin curtains are all that separate him in the showers and bathrooms, and the constant head counts mean there's no chance to fully chill. But hey, at least he's got more freedom than most inmates since he's in a high-profile unit, not a cramped cell. He's also got some distractions: TV, a gym, and books to pass the time. These days, it's chicken sandwiches, hot dogs, and the occasional burger. And as for his wardrobe, goodbye fancy suits. Hello prison tans and brown shirts. Now, Diddy is forced to adjust to this new kind of lifestyle. But given all the things that he's done over the years, some would say that his fate ain't that bad. Here's why. If you've been keeping tabs, you know Diddy's done some nasty things. He's not in there for some petty crime. The charges against him include running a full-blown criminal operation, using his money and influence to organize these over-the-top freak-offs, his signature wild-fueled parties. From the outside, these events were the epitome of glitz and glamour, but now, people are taking a much closer look, and it's not all shiny. Let's start with the legendary white parties. These were the events to attend, hosted in places like the Hamptons, Miami, and even Saint-Tropez. The dress code? Strictly all white, with Diddy himself comparing the vibe to a modern-day Jay Gatsby. Big names like Leonardo DiCaprio, Kim Kardashian, Paris Hilton, and J-Lo were regulars. Basically, if you were anyone in Hollywood, you showed up.
Make sure that they know that you care about them, and it's also you get to hear how they feeling about certain situations.
Ellen DeGeneres once teased Diddy about always being fashionably late because, of course, you can't rush a star like him. Then there's his former publicist, Rob Shooter, who described working with Diddy as being part of a chaotic circus, with Diddy leading the madness. And here's a bizarre one. Photographer Selma Fona says Diddy had his bodyguard confiscate her camera because she snapped a pic of him with someone he didn't want on record. But here's the dark side. On the surface, these parties look like the height of luxury, but neighbors and insiders tell a different story. One neighbor from his LA mansion remembers women stumbling out into the streets, looking totally lost and out of it. Lawsuits have since claimed these events weren't just glamorous gatherings. They were allegedly a cover for something much darker. Some people who attended only realized later that things were way off. Have no doubt, Diddy's freak-offs were these intense, over-the-top events. Victims have come forward saying they were forced into things. Multiple lawsuits have been filed, exposing what might have really gone down at these parties. It's crazy to think about how these events, once seen as the ultimate in celebrity luxury, are now being viewed under such a dark cloud. It's like the curtain's been pulled back, and what people are finding is shocking. First, we had Lil Rod and Cassie, who both spilled the tea, showing the world how Diddy had his employees bring in and male escorts. But now, there are plenty of others who are also shedding light on this dirty secret. There's no shortage of wild stories when it comes to Diddy, and things just keep getting messier. A former Playboy model, Precious Muir, recently shared her experience from one of Diddy's infamous white parties in the Hamptons. The most shocking detail? She says there were young kids at the event, brought by their parents. Precious couldn't wrap her head around it. Why would anyone think a party like that was okay for kids? She made it clear that the adults responsible should seriously rethink their choices. Of course, Diddy's legal team was quick to deny any claims about minors being involved in anything inappropriate. But that's not the only thing Precious talked about. She mentioned how and heavy drinking were pretty much the norm at these parties. She said were often offered to her and her friends, though she chose to stay out of it. Others, however, weren't so lucky. She faced constant pressure with people asking why she wasn't joining in, and Precious isn't the only one speaking out. Adria English also came forward with her own shocking stories, and her experience cuts even deeper.
They left because they were running around doing press and admissions that I had not made or authorized, and I'm the client.
Adria shared how she ended up in Diddy's circle, starting with a modeling audition her friend Anthony attended for a Sean John campaign. Anthony invited her along, hoping to network in the music industry, but things took a turn when Anthony stormed out of the audition room, furious. He told Adria that Diddy had made an inappropriate advance, something Anthony clearly didn't expect.
I did. I did. See, I got the receipts for everything I'm telling you. That's why I can say them so freely.
Kid, I need.
Later, Adria met one of Diddy's handlers, Tamiko Thomas, who made her an offer. If Adria danced at Diddy's white parties, it could help Anthony land the campaign. Adria agreed, and Anthony got the gig. But there's no trace of his photos today. Adria claims Diddy had them scrubbed from everywhere. From there, Adria said Diddy pulled her closer, noticing her innocence and using it to manipulate her. He dangled promises of a music career, claiming she was talented and could make it big. But instead of delivering, he had her perform for him in private settings, using her as leverage during business deals. Looking back, Adria realized his tactics were all about control. She also revealed that Diddy forced people to sign NDAs that barred them from speaking out until decades after his death. Adria never signed one, but she says plenty of others, like the members of Danity Kane, did. And if you've heard about the drinks at Diddy's parties, Adria confirmed that too. Women were told to drink only from specific bottles, champagne labeled just for them. These drinks were laced with X and other substances, leaving everyone in a haze. Adria believes this caused her long-term health issues. Even one drink today can completely knock her out. Celebrities weren't exempt either. Adria mentioned Jennifer Lopez, who allegedly fled the country after experiencing similar incidents. She also shared an alarming story about a young girl, just 11 years old, who was brought to a studio, dressed up, and paraded around like a trophy. Tony Busby, the guy who is pursuing legal action against Diddy in the name of some of these victims, confirmed it too.
At the time of the occurrence, was 9 years old. We have an individual who was 14 years old. We have one who was 15. 25 of the 120 individuals who are plaintiffs in these cases were minors at the time of the acts complained of.
The most disturbing part is that Diddy recorded all this stuff. There's even a case where a young girl performing on stage asked to use the bathroom but wasn't allowed to leave, leading to a humiliating accident in front of everyone. Denzel Washington, who was there, supposedly confronted Diddy before leaving with his wife. What happened next is even more chilling. Adria claims Diddy took the girl to another room and her. But all of these things weren't happening only during private parties at Diddy's mansions or in the clubs. This was happening everywhere around him, and especially in the music industry. His infamous freak-offs became part of his approach to doing business. Diddy's behavior infiltrated professional spaces, turning industry events and music functions into settings for executives, artists, and other insiders were allegedly involved or aware, pointing to a broader reach within the entertainment world. This wasn't just behind closed doors at private gatherings. These actions reportedly played out during recording sessions, tours, and industry parties. Even recording studios, traditionally spaces of creativity, were not safe from this behavior. Remember when Lil Rod told us about Diddy and how he harassed and assaulted him during the album's production?
Worked my way over to the hip-hop side. I've been working on an album. I took a year off straight working on this album. That album is the Love album.
Rod even alleged that Diddy leveraged his connections to respected figures like Stevie J to groom and pressure him, further highlighting how his professional influence was used in disturbing ways. This manipulation extended to other artists and collaborators as well. Lawsuits describe scenarios where people like Young Miami were paid to serve as personal workers for Diddy, while staff members within his own company were supporting these arrangements, pushing and managing logistics for these events. The power dynamic between Diddy and those who worked for or with him created an environment where coercion became part of the deal. And that might be the worst part. This was a well-oiled machine with a professional setting. Diddy's mogul status provided cover for these actions. Industry events, promotional tours, and high-profile gatherings were used as opportunities to further these activities, with Diddy's billion-dollar empire enabling it all. From arranging travel and accommodations to even offering medical services like IV drips at events, the infrastructure of his business was allegedly used to support these behaviors. For many collaborators, working with Diddy came with a cost. Some were exposed to toxic environments where career advancement seemed to depend on compliance with his demands. This dynamic blurred the lines between personal and professional obligations, creating a space where misconduct overshadowed creativity and talent. All of these allegations that we got to learn about in the past 2 years reveal a pattern of behavior that deeply intertwined Diddy's personal misconduct with his business. The ripple effect stretched across the music industry, affecting not just those in his immediate circle, but also the broader culture. As more victims step forward, the true extent of this alleged abuse is only beginning to come to light. One of the people who is feeding the public with information about Puffy is Suge Knight. If anyone knows how Diddy's mind works, that's him. Now, we've heard Suge speak on Diddy before, but he's out here stirring things up again, this time dropping some info about a secret society involving Diddy, Snoop Dogg, and Usher. In a recent interview, Suge shared his unease about the close ties between these celebs, suggesting there's more going on behind the scenes than meets the eye. Suge Knight isn't holding back when it comes to Diddy's influence over Justin Bieber. In a chat with former mobster Michael Franzese, Suge alleged that Diddy took a way too personal interest in mentoring Justin early in his career. If you ask Suge, Diddy's involvement crossed some serious lines, claiming what they did to Justin Bieber was the saddest thing in the world. He even went as far as saying Diddy Bieber, which, let's be real, is a heavy accusation.
Yeah. And then when you get 18, you get the house. You get the mansion.
Okay.
Old clips of Bieber and Diddy hanging out have started popping up online since Diddy's recent arrest. Interestingly, Justin hasn't commented on any of this, despite the flood of lawsuits now aimed at Diddy. But that's not all. Suge also claimed Diddy's circle arranged trips for Justin with older men, describing them as romantic vacations, where the photos showed Justin and these grown men. No women in sight. He called it a sad and deeply troubling situation. And he ain't the only one who was caught under Diddy's power grasp. Usher was in it too. Diddy's influence on him was just as questionable. Usher spent nights sharing a bed with Diddy while they worked on an album. But here's the deal. Apparently no music ever came out of those sessions. Suge even said that exposing what went on could ruin Usher's legacy, saying people might remember him for being by Puffy instead of his music. Suge's allegations add a new layer of controversy to an already chaotic situation. But what's your take on the whole Diddy situation? Do you think he's trying to turn his jail cell into Freak Off Central? Let us know about it down below. And before you go, make sure to check this video out too.